Sunderland have signed a defender, but no, it is not a centre-back, it is a left-back called Arthur Masuaku. And in this video, we are going to look at who he is, why this deal is happening, what fans can expect, and my verdict on this signing. So let's start with who actually is Arthur Masuaku. So he's a Congo international. He's played over 300 games at top levels across Europe, including the Premier League. He's 31 years old, so doesn't fit in Sunderland's usual sort of recruitment, as we normally like to sign players who are about 10 years younger. But being a free transfer, as this is, it does make a little bit more sense. He started his career at Valenciennes in the top tier of France before moving to Olympiacos in 2014. He then joined West Ham in 2016, spent 7 seasons there before leaving in 2022 to join Besiktas on loan initially, and they made that a permanent signing, and he's been pretty much a regular fixture in their team since. So a lot of top level experience. At West Ham, largely initially a starter for the first couple of years and then kind of a fringe player, somebody who would sort of be their cover left back. But overall, it's a lot of experience at the top levels. So that is something that Sunderland have needed, and it's a tick in that box. This is very much a player who has bundles of what Sunderland don't have, because Sunderland have really only got Granit Xhaka, who've got, you know, tons of top level experience. So this does help add to that. And I suppose the next question needs to be, what sort of player is he? And I remember him being at West Ham, so I sort of remember him as a player. But it's fair to say that he is an attacking fullback, a very attacking fullback. This isn't a player like Ronaldo, who is a very defensive fullback. This is somebody who loves to attack. His heat maps largely suggest that he's been in the opposition half more than he is his own half. So this is somebody that really wants to push on, bomb on. His scouting data shows that he's good with the ball. He's a good passer of the ball. He ranks very, very highly in both those categories. And dribbling is something that, you know, is a feature of his game. So expect somebody who's maybe the hybrid kind of Ronaldo and Dennis Cirkin, but more attacking than both. So this is different to what Sunderland have. This is definitely a different sort of option. Another thing that sort of struck my attention was his winning of duels in the Europa League last season. He had like over 80% in aerial duels, so that shows that he's strong in that department. Clearly, you know, decent physically, even though he is only 5'10". And I think as well, the positive I'm taking from this is that the reception from West Ham fans has been, you know, that they really, really liked him. He's a cult hero. Hammers.news, one of the fan websites there, has said that he was a cult hero and they used to call him King Arthur. So that's a positive. It clearly shows that he was, you know, well liked at West Ham. This wasn't seen as a player that was a liability or anything, or certainly the good outweighed the bad. And they also described him as being pacey and skillful, which does kind of fit the bill of what Sunderland want right now. You know, we want players who are physical, who can carry the ball, who are decent on the ball. And I think that this player ticks those boxes. And I think, you know, Sunderland have managed to pick somebody up here who does add something different to what we have in the squad, certainly at left back. And I suppose the next question to ask is, why is this deal happening? And I think initially there was a lot of, I've seen quite a bit of negativity towards this deal on social media, and I think that comes from Sunderland fans being accustomed to signing younger players. It probably also comes from the fact that Sunderland fans are waiting for a centre-back to come in, so when you see a defender and then you realise it's a left-back, it does sort of raise questions in a way of like, oh, we need a centre-back, not another left-back. But I think it's interesting that this deal's happening now. I wonder if Sunderland have been looking at other left-backs and maybe they've waited because, you know, Mazuaku's been available since the start of July. That's when his contract expired. So in theory, Sunderland could have had him signed up a month ago, and it's waited until sort of early August. There's been no speculation about this either. This wasn't a deal that's been rumoured for days. This came totally out of the blue. And this is kind of the remit of Sunderland. We generally like to do our business quietly. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I think as well, the other thing you have to consider is, you know, what does this mean for Dennis Cirkin in his future? Because Cirkin is in the last year of his contract. We've already brought in Ronaldo, and I think people expected that it would be them two competing for the left-back position. But now we're adding another left-back in there, so that means we've got 3 in there. So it does raise questions as to what the future is for Cirkin and whether or not it's more about giving us, you know, maybe flexibility because Ronaldo can play at centre-back. That brings me on to the next point. Is this move a way to protect Sunderland against not buying in maybe the 2 centre-backs they need? Because Ronaldo can play at centre-back. So It's possibly that this is a bit of a squad reshuffle. I mean, I know that Sunderland have said, and Regis Labrie has said that he sees Ronaldo as largely a left back. So does this move protect Sunderland early games? You know, that's basically the point I'm making. Does it mean that Ronaldo can come in and play centre back for the West Ham game? Like, I don't think that's ideal. I don't think he is a centre back, and I'd rather play players in the correct position. This is very Ellis Shorty here, where you're just playing players all over the place because you've got too many right backs. Well, in Ellis Short's case, it was not enough right backs, but you've got too many central midfielders and you need a right back, so you put a central midfielder in there. Look, I'm not saying that that's really what it is, but I do think it's interesting that this move's happening now. Sunderland have obviously struggled to bring in a centre back, and it means that we are, for the first game of the season, going to be able to play an experienced back line where we'll have probably Ballard, Ronaldo, and then we'll have Mazuaku at left back and Trey Hume at right back. It's not the end of the world, but I still think Sunderland desperately need a centre back, and this doesn't answer that problem. But it does make us wonder if they've maybe fast forwarded this deal and brought in a left back just so that they've got that option heading into the start of the season, because it's imperative that we're into that West Ham game with a strong 11 that can win, because I think West Ham are going to be a team we're going to be competing against come the end of the season. So overall, what is my view on this one? And I think that this is a low-risk signing for Sunderland. This is somebody with experience. He's going to help bolster up that defensive line. He's probably not going to cost all that much. I don't think this lad's had offers coming out of his ears. I think this is just a real easy tick box win for Sunderland, and that's the way that I'm sort of looking at this. It's bringing in what we don't have, a bit of experience at the back, a different sort of player to what we've got, an option. I certainly think that if you've got an attacking left back, you're losing a game, it's good to have somebody like that on the bench, so, to try and change the game. So I think there are positives to this. I think on the face of it, it kind of felt like this deal didn't fit what Sunderland normally does in terms of recruitment. We normally are going for younger players, but it does fit in the sense that when we do sign older players, they are generally free transfers. So we're adding in experience at a low cost, and that has to be seen as a positive. But I also think that this is a player that fits into how we want to play. And he's quick, he's got attributes we like, he's a good carrier of the ball, he's a good passer of the ball. Yes, defensively there are questions there, but he does tick a lot of boxes for what we need. So that's going to be a positive as well. And I think that that's kind of the way it has to be viewed. And I think that overall, it's just a signing that needs to be viewed as a cheap way to add experience, and that's what we need in this squad. And I think we've seen a lot of people talk about Sunderland and say, yeah, it's a good team. They've got a lot of good players that it lacks experience. And this is just a way to add it all in, get in another player who's played a lot of games at the top level. And he's not exactly 35, 36 years old. He's still 31. It's a 2-year contract. It's not a massive risk in terms of, a deal. It's very similar to the Ronaldo deal. So I'm overall, look, it's not going to change the world. It's not going to be the difference between Sunderland staying up or going down, but I don't think this is a bad bit of business. And I think that's the way it needs to be viewed. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comments, whether or not you think it's a good bit of business, a bad bit of business, whether you would have done it as well, and how surprised you were to see this transfer news come out. So I'd be interested to hear your views, and we'll catch you all for the next video where hopefully we're talking about a new centre-back.